Thank you, David. Next, I have the great pleasure of introducing a giant who is disrupting healthcare for aging Americans in his own mindful way. Keith Mitchell is a former All-Pro linebacker for the New Orleans Saints, Houston Texans, and Jacksonville Jaguars. Unfortunately, Keith's football career ended prematurely when he suffered a spinal cord contusion and was left paralyzed. However, the end of Keith's professional football career was the beginning of an even greater chapter in his life. As part of his successful rehabilitation from his injury, Keith developed a passion for yoga and meditation. For the past 10 years, Keith has brought his yoga and mindfulness training to current and former NFL players. Instead of bringing pain to the New York Giants and New York Jets, Keith says he now brings peace. Military veterans, he's been to the White House, and earlier this month through Yoga on the Hill to Congress, where his message was, not left, not right, just balance. For too long, retired NFL players and military veterans have suffered neurological and psychological complications as a consequence of their professions. For many, their suffering has been in silence. They've had no program that addresses both their physical and psychological well-being. Today, Keith Mitchell and his Light It Up Foundation are announcing a program to change that. Keith.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dorsey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Pleasure to be here with you guys. First in the yoga world, when we come into a new space, we start by saying namaste, which means peace. So you don't have to worry about me, like Dr. Dorsey said, tackling anyone. You know, I'm not playing football anymore, so you have to worry about that if you don't agree. But it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm very excited about what we're here to promote, our care plan. As Dr. Ray said, I started my journey through football. I played the linebacker position. It was, more like the more aggressor type position. And my last season, which was actually I go back, I played 6 years in New Orleans, played a year in Houston, and then I went to Jacksonville after that. But my first season in Jacksonville, which was my last, was where I kind of started my real journey. And it's the journey going within. And in that, making a tackle I had made a million times. On this particular tackle, I go into the guy, I read the play, make the tackle. Typically, defense gets up for momentum for the team. And in this particular place, I was on my back. And while I was on my back, certain things are coming to you, like get up and do what you normally do. And in this, my body wasn't responding. And as I'm still laying there, I'm still talking to myself, like, get up. And my body's not responding. It's like it's a very funny thing when your body's in trouble or you're in trouble and you can't feel anything. Your mind is sensing that something's wrong, but you can't feel anything. A lot of people talk about an out-of-body experience. That was my first one, if you believe that. But in that, I was diagnosed with a spinal contusion. My C2 through C4 fused together. And after that, I suffered about a 6-month period of paralysis. And in that journey, I was taught meditation. One of the therapists mentioned to me the academics of what it takes when you breathe from the diaphragm. On the inhale, the diaphragm pushes up, and on the exhale, it pushes down. We take about an average of 21,000 breaths a day. So we have 21,000 chances to nurture, to heal ourselves. And the power of that, dealing with from one moment being this physically active individual to being completely helpless, brought me to a place. And through my meditation, it gave me the ability to kind of like observe it, but not so much judge it. The idea of success, when we talk about success, we're like, okay, as a kid, we're like, I'm dreaming to have the house, I'm dreaming to have the cars, and this is going to make me happy, right? So I had all that. But the only thing about it, I was confined to one room. I couldn't drive at that time. So I'm like, where's my happiness? So in this, it made me really go within and really connect within. And in this, we started developing and seeing life a lot different. I posted a quote, I don't know if some of you guys are on the social media, but I talk about, as you teach the asana is the actual physical practice of yoga. As you teach the meditation or do the meditation, you do the poses, something happens. And in that happening, you start to look in and see yourself. And as you begin to see yourself, you begin to see outward. And for me, that created purpose. And for my purpose, we created the Light Up Foundation. And the very interesting thing about today and sharing with you what we're up to with the University of Rochester is so amazing, because this doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. When you can connect to giving back and like helping people change their lives. It's like, man, I wish I was doing this the whole time. It's just like, I wish I knew about doing this and connecting to this the whole time. But that's okay, because we're here now. And so what we've done, what we're facing with, we got 350,000 veterans who are suffering PTSD from the Afghanistan war. We have 22 veterans who commit suicide a day. 7 out of 10 homeless that you see on the street are retired veterans. 98% of those are suffering mental health issues. So what we're doing with this, we collaborated with the University of Rochester. When I found those guys, I was introduced to Dr. Dorsey and his team. I was like, I was just unbelievable, just blown away with how they're so forward-thinking in the holistic realm. And I was like, these doctors are not only so amazing in what they do, but they also do it in their own lives. So this created the true connection to want to really collaborate with them. And what we came together with is a care plan. And how also how I actually got introduced to the veterans concept is Congressman Tim Ryan brought me in, and I saw the comparisons of like how the veterans and the sports guys was so similar. The identity crisis, the transitional period that's needed to kind of get acclimated to life after playing sports, to life after serving time in the military. It made so much sense. Just the other day, we had a player who was kind of juggling with his career, completely commit suicide. He hung himself. We've seen so many more of those types of episodes happening. I believe we can address this with the care plan. And what the care plan is, it's a 3-year care plan. We're actually bringing the players into a different element. We're going to do the first 2 days of the diagnosis and so forth, and then the 3 days we're going to do like more or less a yoga meditational type retreat. And in that we're going to have different discussions and so forth, where we can really kind of open up and create that space that can allow us to kind of connect to that healing. So many of the men or the mental or the masculine mentality is like, I got this, I'm under control, I don't want to show vulnerability and so forth. So many of the guys are like so in those places of like, I'm the only one in this world suffering from this. And I believe if we create that platform where guys can actually open up and talk about it and realize that it doesn't take away from my masculinity, it just empowers me more. It's that 50% that I talk to a lot of guys about is, that 50% that we suppress, that compassionate, that nurturing side. We get a chance to expand into those places of those realms like that. And therefore, it creates a more empowered man. A lot of times also I see the athletes who transition, they become great leaders in their respective game, great leaders in their respective regiments in the military. But once those times are done, then they're done. But these guys have created within them such roles in their communities, leaderships in their communities, that we need them right now. Our community needs them right now. So we get a chance to empower the leaders that already proven themselves, but kind of at some point, for whatever reason, lack the confidence of going outside their sport, going outside their realm of serving time in the military and so forth. So we get a chance to really impact that level of leader. So again, we're very excited about what we have going on. So the 3 days are going to be more or less like a yoga retreat setting. So we're going to, so after that 5-day retreat there, we'll have them come back after 12 months and we'll do it again. and we'll be able to monitor the progress. And not only will we be able to monitor the progress through the concept of telemedicine, we can do the follow-through. We can stay connected with them. And in that, I see guys who are, wherever they are, kind of finding their own connection. Because again, the thing about the athlete or the military guy is they have a certain level of discipline. And once you give them a format, an agenda, I believe they can stay committed to that. And so we're able to scale that 350,000 through the technology of telemedicine, which makes us so unique in this place right here. So it's the perfect marriage between the Eastern concept and the Western technology that we have here available to us. So I'm very excited about what we have and what we're doing. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. Thank you guys for listening now. And now, I get the privilege to really introduce somebody, in my opinion, that embodies all of these things that we're talking about. The power that the mind has, the ability to overcome and not let circumstances define you. I had the privilege to meet this young man, and I was blown away. I was first blown away by the story when I saw the videos and so forth. And then I got the privilege to meet him. But without further ado, Dr. Brad Beck. Thank you.
Hey, man. All the way, big guy. All right. Well, I wasn't a football player when I injured myself, just a competitive cyclist. And cycle meets car. Usually the car seems to win. But what I want to talk about are just two things today. First, that there is an epidemic of chronic neurologic disease. Hyped in all the press, of course, is dementia and Alzheimer's disease. But the good news, bad news, is that people are surviving strokes a lot longer. We have 800,000 strokes a year in the United States, 34 billion right now. And as people live longer, we're going to accumulate a lot more patients with strokes. Spinal cord injury, like myself and what happened to Keith, is quite a bit rarer, about 80,000 a year. But they used to have a life expectancy of 10 years, now almost normal. I had a life planner figure out I'm going to die at age 82 according to my life planner. So I needed to make sure I had enough money to survive because I do need those home health aides. And Seth doesn't know, $17 an hour is not enough. I have to pay mine $20 or $25 an hour, and Memorial Day weekend, you got to pay double. So it's pretty expensive having these aides. And we are going to witness, I think, an enormous need to take care of people with chronic neurologic disease. And what begins to happen with people is they develop behavioral health problems. They get depressed, and they have multiple comorbidities. So spinal cord injury patients are 3 or 4 times more likely than age-matched controls to die of cardiovascular disease because they're depressed, they're socially isolated, they don't exercise, so they get obese, and they don't follow good nutrition. So we're creating, by our abilities to help people survive the acute injuries, very chronic ones. So we need some disruptive technologies. The current approaches to this aren't going to work. And I was the CEO at the University of Rochester for the last 8 years, but starting January 1st, I decided to pursue a new career and develop a neurorestoration institute. And the restoration piece is the key part, not neuro-rehab, it's really restoring. And what I want to restore is function. And you can restore function in a lot of different ways. And I'll tell you the 5 ways we're going to work to restore function, because I think there are many, many more, but at least these are 5 that I think encapsulate a lot of what you've heard this morning already. So for example, devices. Part of the reason I did this is I'm a cardiologist by training. And in the 80s, when I was a fellow, I saw the first angioplasty ever done in Boston, and then I saw the first stent put in. We were treating people with these absolutely horrible drugs for their arrhythmias, and then we got implantable defibrillators. AEDs are in every airport now, and we have enormous success now in out-of-hospital rescue, but neuroprotection doesn't work very well. So people show up brain dead with their hearts beating. So devices are about to dramatically change the field, and the same companies that were big in the heart, like Medtronic, are now going to be big in brain and spinal cord and all kinds of nerve regeneration. So I think devices are going to be a huge part and very disruptive technology, as you've seen in many different areas. Second one is pain. Chronic pain is a huge part of our society. As people get older, in many, many ways that people have pain, and we're going to start seeing devices used to treat pain. We're going to have mindfulness. So what Keith was talking about, having control over your body allows you to have control over your pain. And so we need much more cost-effective and, again, disruptive approaches to treat pain, because a lot of the current pain medicines, the side effects long-term, particularly in the elderly, are very severe and contribute to a lot of morbidity. Third area, which is the holy grail, of course, are stem cells, because we want to actually regenerate tissues. As you know, the Miami project's been working on this for a long time. They had to stop one trial, but they have another one underway. But personally, I think it's going to be a long time before stem cells make it as a real transplant and organ regeneration. But there are drugs that can help mobilize stem cells. And there are resident stem cells in tissues. And it may be that we can help people restore their health by mobilizing those stem cells and getting them to do things that otherwise they wouldn't be able to do. Neuroplasticity is a big word, but it's also a terrific opportunity for us. The oldest form of that is Braille. So you substitute the ability to touch for an inability to see. I can't feel my legs, but I ride a tricycle, but my tricycle has the pedals in front of me, so I can see my legs turning, and I can keep them going at a really good pace, even though I can't feel anything in them, and I don't know where they are in space. I can see where they are. And bicycle is kind of nice, because once you get that rhythm going, it's pretty easy. Walking is a lot tougher than bicycling, a lot more degrees of freedom in terms of what can happen to you. But there are going to be an enormous number of opportunities to do substitution and to take what's left after a stroke or after a spinal cord injury and optimize it, either using devices or, in some cases, training people to be able to reroute their circuits. And there's an example of this called blind sight. When people have a stroke in the back of their brain, they lose the ability to see in one half of their visual field. But there's some nerves that are still alive there. And if you flash a red light in front of them, they actually can pick up some of those red lights. And you can train them over time to pick up more of those red lights. And over time, they actually move their visual field deficit over. So they regain some binocular vision. That's all due to cognitive retraining. So a big theme is using your mind to restore your brain and body. And I think Keith was talking a lot about that. Yoga is one way to focus and to concentrate, to get to that meditative state that allows you to then really focus on this. And the final one is integrative medicine. It's sort of the new term for complementary and alternative medicine. Yoga is one example. And I myself have been on a pretty extensive journey of discovery in this area. And the two things that are common to almost all integrative medicine are the concept of energy. So for those of you who do any of the traditional Chinese forms, that's your qi, your energy. And then the other one's alignment. Whether you're a chiropractor or a yoga instructor or a massage therapist, the whole goal is to have your body in alignment, because when you achieve that, if you have a sound body, that sends the right signals back to your brain. So how we can make that scalable, how we can enable people to do that better, those are going to be some of the big challenges, but they're incredibly cost effective. And they have no drugs, no side effects. It's really giving people the power to control their bodies, and similarly to find the part of their mind that allows them to be at peace with the world and to function in the world. All of us who have disabilities have those moments when things don't work quite right, and you can either spend the rest of the day depressed, or you can say, it's just one of those things, and on we go. So that's my message for everyone today. on we go. It's really a privilege to be here, and I've learned an enormous amount already about what some of the innovations are going to be, and